Temple of Doom gets a lot of hate from people, and for the life of me, I just don't know how you can hate this movie. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom sees the return of director Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford in the title role, as well as newcomers Kate Capshaw, Jonathan K. Quan and Amrish Puri. The story is set in 1935 as Indiana Jones arrives in India, still part of the British Empire, and is asked to find a mythical stone. He then stumbles upon a secret cult committing enslavement in the catacombs of an ancient palace. So just to give you guys a heads up, there will be spoilers in this review, so that's your warning. A quick reminder that if you enjoy my movie reviews, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to hit the notification bell to keep up to date with the latest content. After the massive success of Raiders, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas could have easily made a carbon copy of that movie for the prequel. But both wisely shift the MacGuffin of the story and adventure to one that's darker in tone and quality. This shift in tone alone raises the tension and conflict for Indy, as you never get the sense that he's going to make it out of a dangerous situation in one piece. The opening scene perfectly encapsulates this, as Indy drinks poison given to him by Lao Che, as he then scrambles on the floor of this club trying to find the antidote for said poison. The fact that the story takes place in a handful of locations only adds to the tension, as once Indy, Willie and Short Round are in Bangkok Palace, the obstacles that are presented by the thuggies creates a constant state of peril for these characters. Harrison Ford, at this point in his career, could have played Indiana Jones in his sleep, as he returns to the role so effortlessly. For Indy this time round, rather than going on an adventure trying to retrieve an artifact from evil do-gooders, this time round we get to see a different version of the character, in this case, a darker version. It was a delight to see Indy turn against the ideals that he holds so dearly as an archaeologist, as you can tell Ford is having an absolute blast tapping into this unique depiction of the character. Kate Capshaw plays Willie Scott, and I didn't find her as annoying as most people found when they watched this movie, as despite the damsel in distress stereotype that comes across in Willie's personality, she's very likeable and appealing, and she has great chemistry with Harrison Ford, although she doesn't have much in the way of influence when it comes to plot development. Jonathan K. Quan is perfectly cast as Short Round, as child actors in movies can go either one of two ways. They can either be really annoying or really charming, and in Quan's case he falls into the latter, as he was constantly charismatic in the role. Another aspect that I enjoyed is how Short Round is pivotal at certain points of the story. At the beginning of the movie, we see him driving a car that Indy and Willie fall into, as he escorts them to an airport to flee Lao Che's gang, and in the final act we see him beating various thuggy members, and seeing him snap Indy out of his dark spell that the thuggies put him under. The combination of great writing, Spielberg's ability to draw top performances out of child actors, and Quan's charming and charismatic personality makes Short Round one of my favourite characters in the Indiana Jones franchise. Though the villain appears in a handful of scenes, Amrish Puri is in mesmerising form as Murderer. Just from his facial gestures and body language alone, Puri is able to show the pure hatred and evil in his character, as while I admired villain Belloc from Raiders, Puri is far more menacing and evil as the big bad of the movie. Action is something of a mainstay in the Indiana Jones franchise, and Temple of Doom is no exception. The standout set piece for me has to be the cart mine chase between Indy and the thuggy enforcers, which is pure movie magic. Despite the chaotic nature of the sequence, Spielberg and cinematographer Douglas Slocum, who by the way also lensed Raiders, they keep the action coherent and comprehensible, while still being able to maintain the breakneck speed of the set piece. Stunt work is something that I always advocate over the use of CGI, as there's an inherent joy in seeing the lead stars of a movie take part in the action. Seeing Harrison Ford and Jonathan Quan do many of their own stunts added to the level of engagement that I had towards this movie, as it just makes the action that much more satisfying and authentic. In the vein of the whole development of this movie, John Williams adapts his versatile skill set to craft, in my opinion, one of the most unique scores of his career. The title theme and character themes are all here, as you'd expect from the Spielberg-Williams collaboration, but there's also a dark, scary quality to the score that's very appropriate for the tone and themes of the movie. The only criticism of Temple that comes to mind is how it takes a little while for the plot to kick in. While I appreciate Spielberg as setting up the story of how Indy will retrieve the Sankara stones, I feel there's a couple of scenes that could have done with the trim in the edit. The first one being when Indy talks to the village people about the missing stones during the first act, and there's a scene when we see Indy, Willie and Short Round make a pit stop in the jungle en route to Bangkok Palace. Though there's probably some bias on my part since I grew up with this movie, I really think Temple of Doom is a great addition to the Indy franchise, with fantastic acting as always from Harrison Ford, great support from Kate Capshaw, Jonathan Quan and Amrish Puri, fantastic action filmmaking as always from Steven Spielberg, and an ever-reliable score from John Williams, as despite a few redundant moments during the opening act of the movie, and about halfway through as well, I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom an 8.5 out of 10. So I now hand it over to you guys, as I want to hear whether or not you enjoyed Temple of Doom, and where do you think this ranks in the Indiana Jones franchise, as I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you guys as always for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.